Welcome to CBSE English Tutorial, a visual guide.
Imagine this: a king so terrified of a prophecy that he literally declares war on an entire species. Well, that's the wild story of the Tiger King. And it's not just a board exam favorite, it's a brilliant takedown of human pride. In this explainer, we're going to break down everything you need to know to absolutely ace any question that comes your way.
Now, the Tiger King isn't just some quirky little story. It's a powerful satire. What that means is it uses humor to expose some really serious flaws. Things like arrogance, the abuse of power, and our own destructive impact on nature. So we're going to unpack all of it, focusing on the key themes and literary devices you can use to build a top-scoring exam answer.
Okay, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at how the king got his famous name. Then we'll follow his crazy obsessive tiger hunt. After that, we'll dive deep into the satire and that brilliant twist at the end. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways that are going to help you structure your exam answers perfectly.
All right, let's kick things off with the absolute basics, a question that pops up in short answer sections all the time. How on earth did the Tiger King get that name?
So, get this. When the king was just a tiny, 10-day-old baby, the royal astrologers made this super chilling prediction. His death, they said, would come from a tiger. And then, in this totally bizarre and miraculous moment, the baby prince supposedly speaks up and says, "Let tigers beware." I mean, can you imagine? That one prophecy basically set the entire course for the rest of his life.
And you know, right from the get-go, the author, Kalki, is basically winking at us, showing us this is a satire. Just look at the king's official titles. They're ridiculously long. It's a total parody of the huge, grand names that rulers used to give themselves. It's supposed to sound impressive, but honestly, it just sounds absurd.
But after all that, I mean all those fancy pants titles, what did everyone actually call him? The Tiger King. That's it. His entire identity, his whole life, was just boiled down to that one prophecy. It completely overshadowed his actual job as a ruler.
Okay, so he's got the name. Now let's get into what he actually did. This next section covers another really common exam question about the extreme steps he took to fulfill his mission.
He was so obsessed with beating fate that he went on this quest to kill 100 tigers. And to do it, he banned tiger hunting for every single other person in his kingdom. The privilege was his and his alone. His royal power wasn't for helping his people. Oh no, it was for his personal massive ego trip.
And you know what? He was scarily good at it. In just 10 years, he managed to kill 70 tigers, all within his own kingdom of Pratibandapuram.
But here's the devastating consequence. He literally hunted the tigers in his own state until there were none left. Zero. This really hammers home one of the story's biggest themes: the thoughtless destruction of wildlife for our own selfish reasons.
So, no more tigers in his backyard. Mission over, right? Well, for a guy as arrogant as the Tiger King, not a chance. So what was his next big move? His brilliant solution? Get married. But this had nothing to do with love or politics. Nope. This was purely a hunting strategy. He actually ordered his Diwan to go find a princess whose kingdom had enough tigers for him to hunt the final 30 he needed. All right, let's get into the deep stuff now. This is the material that's going to score you big points on those long answer questions. Because this story isn't really about a man hunting tigers. It's a commentary on power itself.
You see, the author, Kalki, is using the Tiger King as this huge, exaggerated symbol for all arrogant and selfish rulers. The king is so full of himself, so conceited, that he genuinely believes his power puts him above everything, even nature and fate.
Now, to really sound like you know your stuff in the exam, you've got to use the term satire correctly. Satire isn't just about being funny. It's about using humor and exaggeration like a weapon to expose how foolish and flawed people can be, especially powerful people. And we see this satire in action all over the story, right? The king completely ignores his royal duties so he can go hunt. He terrifies his staff, and when he gets frustrated because he can't find that 100th tiger, what's his solution? He doubles the land tax on his villagers.
It's a perfect example of his power being driven by pure ego.
Okay, now for the grand finale, the story's famous ending. This part is an absolute masterclass in a literary device you have to talk about in your exam: dramatic irony.
So, after all this searching and frustration, news arrives. They found it. The 100th tiger has been spotted. The king rushes to the forest, totally ready to finally conquer his destiny.
The tiger, old and weak, is brought right in front of him. The king takes careful aim, fires his gun, and the beast just collapses. He is ecstatic. He's over the moon, believing he has finally done it. He has cheated death.
But here's the first major twist. The king, in his classic arrogant style, doesn't even bother to check. Turns out his bullet had missed completely. The poor old tiger had just fainted from the shock of the sound. So his hunters, terrified of losing their jobs, secretly killed the tiger themselves and presented to the king as if he did it.
But the final and greatest irony comes a few days later. For his son's birthday, the king buys a cheap, poorly made wooden toy tiger. And while he's playing with his son, a tiny sliver of wood from that toy pierces his hand.
That tiny wound gets infected, the infection spreads, and 3 famous surgeons are called in. After the operation, they announce with the most bitter irony, the operation was successful. The Maharaja is dead. The king who killed 99 real tigers was ultimately killed by the 100th one, a toy. That is the absolute peak of dramatic irony. So, how do we wrap all this up for your exam? Let's consolidate all the key analytical points that will help you build a high-scoring answer.
Seriously, think of this slide as your blueprint for a long-form answer. Start by identifying the story as a satire. Then, you discuss the central themes, like arrogance versus fate. Bring in the key literary devices, like irony, and always back up your points with specific examples, like the minions acting out of fear, or the devastating ecological impact. This right here is the foundation for a great essay.
Ultimately, the story's warning is crystal clear. The Tiger King had all the power a person could ever want, but his pride made him blind, and it led him to a truly pathetic downfall. It's a timeless lesson. Unchecked power and arrogance don't let you conquer fate. They just lead you to a foolish and ironic end.
Thank you for watching. See you again in a bit.